colleagues. Through the years, I have made several videos, depending on what discipline I was making my presentation, is what I said, and my attire in the presentation. Now, I've been using the photo booth. It's called a movie. With YouTube, I think there's 15 minutes. The photo booth is up to an hour. So I'll try to concise this to the 15 minutes. I have 3 websites. The first one, and importance and my interest and challenge, is that of theology. Theology, the study of all beliefs. Then I have my company, in which I delve into various matters that I want to resolve and maybe present. And the third is, it should be interesting and definitely challenging, is titled Why World's Greatest, www.whyworldsgreatest.com. And in that, I present my opinion of the top 10 greatest of the 20th century. Recalling, I presented Pope John Paul II for his great achievements, especially in obtaining where the people of Europe, especially Eastern Europe, were able to be heard, and other achievements in the discipline of theology. Then Mahatma Gandhi, without a war or battle, he was able to obtain what the people could have be heard and so forth, in the subcontinent, especially of India. And then third is Franklin D. Roosevelt. He did good in as far as the domestic for the USA, and then was the main leader as far as defeating Hitler and their powerful Wehrmacht. Fourth is Winston Churchill, because at one time he was essentially alone against Hitler and the powerful Wehrmacht. Fifth, I have Louis Pasteur. Population of the world is doubling. Critical for world health, pasteurization. Sixth, I had Jonas Salk and the Salk vaccine to combat polio. And then I put with him Sister Kenny and the Sister Kenny method in combating polio. Seventh, I had where I say, well, a woman, besides Sister Kenny, where I single her as seventh, because Mother Teresa, she did to have the world and actually got results that a human being is not an animal to be used and discarded. Every human being is and should be treated as a human being. Eighth, I had Gorbachev, because he obtained where the people could be heard, especially in Russia. And ninth, I had Mao Zedong. Even though Russia collapsed, he kept China percolating, and they became a world power. It's quite an achievement. And 10th, I'm not being braggadocio, I had yours truly. I have achieved more good in more fields than any man in the history of the United States. World-class achievements. The photoelectric copier of Rochester, New York, etc., etc. You can sort of read between the lines. X is the independent variable. Mathematical physics, capital XER, OX. Photoelectric copier. And then light amplification system, electromagnetic radiation. I'll say it again. Light amplification system, electromagnetic radiation. The laser, futuristic, multi-purpose, coherent beam. Take a polygraph test anytime, anywhere. What I say, what I claim, what I say, absolutely truth. You can put this on a voice stress analyzer. Absolutely prove. I was supposed to appear on a program I think was called Lie Detector. About 2 days before, they called and says they couldn't put me on that national public program. I said, I'll pay for it. And I'll pay for any lie detector test. Stipulation, you make the results public. Do you understand? Now, as a young man, I conferred with Einstein. I didn't confer with him to ask his opinion. I'm not being braggadocio. I called him to let him know that I was sure what the future mathematical physics would be. And then from the 20th century into the 21st century. And he said, are you sure? And I said, well, you use theoretical experiments, and I had this prepared a year ago, but by the time I could actually contact you through channels, I said, I must have repeated the theoretical experiment 1,000 times. I'm absolutely sure that I can, I put it politely, modernize the Lorentz-Einstein transformation equations. Like what? Well, I have a finite particle theory. Your have where rho equals mvr, momentum equals mass times velocity times radius. If you put the radius to unity, my rho prime, m prime, v prime, r, in the laboratory, he says, like when I think, well, maybe by 1975, they will have particles equal to or greater than the velocity of light. So I suggest modernizing the Lorentz-Einstein transformation equation. Then he would interrupt me and say, no, it's Lorentz's transformation equation. Of course, it was for Lorentz's transformation equation. And I will get to what I have found out about Einstein and research to verify. So I said, well, I have my capital C transformation equation. Capital X prime equals capital X minus VT over the square root of 1 minus V squared over capital C squared, where capital C is at least equal to or greater than c, the velocity of light. So he invited me to work with him. And when I called again, he says, well, they tell me that I can't work with you. And I said, well, I would suspect that. You see, because I found out that J. Edgar Hoover was immoral. Back in them days, you say he was a queer fellow. And a pedophile. So I thought he should be replaced on moral grounds, at least. Well, I didn't know anything you said went to him. So I was absolutely at the top. And at the same time, this tremendous paradox, I had me at the bottom, where if something happened, and I have barely survived about 6 accidents by a split-second timing, and I've been able to live. Now, so I said, well, in my opinion, I don't think secret police should be able to control scientists as to who and how and what they could do. And he says, you're right. He says, I don't care. And then he surprised me. He said, real? And I'll try to say it like he did. He says, I don't care what they say. He says, you call me and we're going to start working on what you suggest, because you have a concept for a unified field theory. He says, you call me, we'll begin working together. Well, I called him, and he had a live-in secretary. I think her name was Rose. And the way we did it is he wanted to speak German. And of course, I could speak English and a little Italian. But he didn't tell me. I had to find out that he lived in Italy and knew Italian. He steered clear of that. He says, well, can't you speak any German? The only German I can remember at the moment is my college days. I would say, Ein, zwei, vier, who's going to buy the beer? And he laughed. Now, the way we did it is I would say in English and repeat over and over again, and his live-in secretary would take it down in shorthand and then repeat it back. And one time I heard him, I was on a three-way phone. He would hear, and then, because I forget the word, but she took the word as an English word instead of a science word, and he laughed. And I said, no, you know, in science, this is the meaning. And I had to say it a couple of times, and she said, oh, okay, now I have it. Then she would talk to him in German. Then after they would talk back and forth in German, then he would talk to me in English, and as far as my concepts and proofs. Now, when I called, I think I would confer with him on a Wednesday about at about maybe 3 p.m. Eastern time. And she answered and was crying profusely. And I have to speed this up. It's already 12 minutes. And I said, well, what happened? Well, he died last night of a heart attack. Wow. Now, you see, I wanted to have J. Edgar Hoover replaced. So it was a tremendous paradox. I'm at the top, and at the same time, he has me on the bottom. And I was trying to save my brother's life because J. Edgar Hoover was a liar, a grand theft artist, especially of my inventions in science. He was immoral. He was, in fact, a pedophiliac. He was a woman hater. He would experiment Americans to death. He experimented my brother to death. And I think I also seen at least one other person. Well, some would drop, especially would drop around me, is this expression. I wouldn't see him again. And then there was one woman I think he experimented to death. I'm quite sure I can prove that. So it became a vicious life and death paradox. So I was one of the founding fathers of the CIA because we had to combine our intelligence to have it centralized. And I thought in quantity we'd have Hoover better. And then in quality we would, because he would handpick who the director would be. Now, these are absolute truths. I'll take a lie detector test anytime, anywhere, but you must print the results, or you can put this on a voice stress analyzer, absolutely prove it's true. So now I'm at 14 minutes, I have another minute. Well, what about now in this century, who is the world's greatest? Well, I'm not being braggadocious, I have to start with yours truly. There are, of course, great leaders, and right now, I think I saw one recently. There was a remarkable interview. His answers were remarkably accurate, applicable, and that's encouraging. If I just talk to myself, I'll always be, of course, 100% correct. No, I invite and welcome competition to my colleagues. Please challenge. Thank you.